Welcome to the Mary Potter podcast.
Yes.
This week,
All right.
we're launching our magical probe into not one,
Whoa.
two,
Yeah.
but 2-0.
Okay.
Wild flash fiction stories
Right.
from the Wizarding world.
Yeah.
You sent these our way.
Right.
And get ready.
Okay.
We're about to unpack tales of daring adventure,
Okay.
powerful magic,
Yeah.
and creatures both fantastic and fearsome.
All right.
So,
yeah.
are you ready for this?
I am so ready to dive into these stories. It's always fascinating to see how much world building and compelling narrative can be packed into these shorter forms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you shared these, I was immediately struck by how distinct yet engaging each story is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
First up, we're setting sail
Right.
with Pirate Sorceresses of the Caribbean.
Ooh, yeah, pirate.
And now imagine this, the golden age of piracy. But the most fearsome crews aren't just burly sea dogs, but powerful female witches navigating those treacherous Caribbean waters.
Yeah, that's a great image.
Their quest, as you know, is for a legendary island, Isle of the Storms, said to only appear under the eerie glow of a blood moon.
So spooky.
Huh. Yeah. What do you think about that, just that image right there?
Well, I think what's intriguing right away is this blend of historical setting with a magical element. Like, you know, it makes you consider how the presence of magic would alter the dynamics of that era.
Absolutely.
You know, like real pirates, but they have magic. And then this blood moon element adds a layer of mystique. You know, almost suggesting that the island's power is tied to something primal and perhaps dangerous.
Totally. And they aren't alone in their pursuit either.
Oh.
A relentless Royal Navy admiral known as the Witch Hunter, Drake, is hot on their heels.
Oh, man.
So you've got this desperate race against time and tide, the ancient magic these sorceresses wield, and the potentially devastating price of the power they seek on this island.
Right, so they're being pursued, and there's a potential price to be paid.
Absolutely, and it really makes you think, what truly motivates someone to seek a haven, and what lines are they willing to cross for it?
That's a good question. I mean, that pursuit of a safe space when you're marginalized, you know, that's a powerful driver.
Absolutely.
And this Witch Hunter Drake character seems to embody the very prejudice they're trying to escape. So his relentless pursuit immediately creates a compelling external conflict in the story. And one image that really stood out to me in the beginning was Captain Calypso Fury and her crew trapped beneath that shimmering dome.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
It throws you right into the thick of things.
It does, doesn't it?
Right away.
You feel their desperation immediately. This legendary Isle of the Storms represents not just power, but a potential end to the constant fear of being hunted.
Right.
It's a really potent symbol.
Yeah.
The story mentions the dome intensifying as the blood moon rises.
Oh, wow.
That creates such a visceral sense of pressure, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a clever way to escalate the stakes quickly.
Right.
And the fact that they have to channel their magic together as a coven speaks to the strength they find in community. You know, it's not just about individual power. But the amplified potential of their collective. You see glimpses of storm weaving, illusion,
Siren song, all these classic witchy elements, but used in a pirate context. What did you make of that blend?
I thought it was fantastic. It was a way to integrate familiar magical concepts into this swashbuckling setting. It wasn't just random magic. It felt purposeful.
Yeah, I agree.
But then that dramatic arrival of Admiral Drake's black-sailed ship right as they breached the dome. Talk about a setback.
Total setback.
Yeah. What'd you think about that moment?
Well, it's a perfect narrative beat. You know? They overcome one seemingly insurmountable obstacle only to be confronted by a very real human threat. It forces Captain Calypso into a difficult choice, immediate escape, or risking everything for the potential of long-term security on Isla.
Tough choice.
What do you think that dilemma reveals about her character? I think it shows a real internal conflict, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like she's a leader, weighing the immediate safety of her crew against the potential for a true and lasting sanctuary.
Right, yeah.
It's a really difficult decision.
It is.
The story then takes us on this thrilling chase.
Oh, yeah.
And you can almost feel the spray of the sea as they narrowly escape Drake with that whirlpool maneuver.
Whoa.
But even as Isla comes into view, there's that subtle hint that this powerful magic might come with a catch.
Ooh.
Did you pick up on that sense of unease?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing is crucial.
Right.
You know, it prevents the story from feeling like a simple power fantasy.
Right.
The idea that great power often comes at a price is a recurring theme in folklore and mythology for a reason.
Totally.
And as Calypso and her coven venture onto the island, guided by that sapphire amulet, you can sense the ancient power lingering there.
Yeah.
The descriptions of forgotten ruins and spectral guardians really contribute to that atmosphere.
Totally.
It's not just an island. It feels like a place with a history, a consciousness almost.
And when they reach the heart of the island, that amphitheater with the sapphire sigil, that's when the true weight of the island's magic seems to bear down on Calypso.
Ooh.
Those overwhelming visions she experiences.
Right.
The triumph, Drake's downfall.
Okay.
But also that terrifying image of herself on a pyre.
Oh, no.
What do you think the author was trying to convey with those contrasting futures?
I think it felt like a warning, a glimpse into the potential consequences of wielding such immense power.
Yeah.
The vision of herself on the pyre, even in a scenario of victory, suggests that true freedom might not be attainable through external power alone, but perhaps carries its own inherent dangers or sacrifices.
Yeah.
And the image of them bound to the island as guardians also speaks to the idea that power can sometimes be a form of imprisonment.
Yeah, it's that realization, that understanding of the potential cost that leads her to that surprising decision to leave. It really subverts what you might expect from a story about pirates seeking ultimate power.
Yeah.
What does that choice say about the story's message, do you think?
It suggests that true freedom isn't necessarily about a place or about having absolute power.
Yeah.
Calypso seems to recognize that their strength lies in their unity, in their shared spirit and resilience, rather than in being bound to a potentially corrupting force. You know, sailing away doesn't solve their immediate problems with Drake, but it preserves something essential about who they are.
Totally.
It makes you wonder if true freedom is an internal state as much as an external reality.
It really does.
Yeah.
Now, shifting gears entirely, let's plunge into the silent depths with the underwater warlock.
Ooh, yeah.
You found this one particularly intriguing, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
This flash fiction story introduces us to Dr. Kaya Rivers, a marine biologist driven by legends of merfolk and a lost underwater city. And in the crushing pressure of the Marianas Trench, she stumbles upon not just ruins, but a thriving civilization ruled by a mysterious warlock. It's a fantastic blend of scientific exploration and pure fantasy. Marianas Trench itself adds such a sense of isolation and the unknown, making it the perfect setting for a hidden world.
Absolutely. But as you can imagine, this hidden world is soon threatened by surface dwellers.
Oh, no.
And an unlikely alliance has to be forged between Kaya and this warlock.
Interesting.
It raises so many compelling questions, doesn't it? Can science and magic truly coexist to protect something so fragile? And what happens when the wonders of the deep are revealed to a world that might not understand or respect them?
That's a huge question.
It is.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, the potential for conflict is immediate.
Right.
You have two vastly different ways of understanding the world colliding.
Yeah.
Kaya approaches it through a scientific lens, while the warlock and his civilization operate through magic.
Right.
Their values and priorities are likely to be very different.
For sure.
And the warlock himself, portrayed as mysterious, perhaps even dangerous in legend, immediately creates a sense of intrigue.
Yeah.
So what was your first impression of how these two worlds were set up?
Well, I thought the story did a great job of immediately establishing that contrast.
Right.
Kaya in her submersible, representing the surface world's technological prowess.
Right.
Discovering this ancient magical civilization.
Right.
But that moment when her emergency beacon goes off, attracting unwanted attention and angering the merfolk.
Oh, man.
Like a classic example of unintended consequences, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It highlights the potential for even well-intentioned exploration to have negative impacts.
Right.
The Mer Queen's initial reaction, seeing Kaya as an invader representing a polluting surface world, is entirely understandable from her perspective.
Yeah.
It grounds the fantastical element in a very real-world concern about ocean conservation.
Totally.
Yeah.
But then the appearance of the warlock, Rylan. The legends paint him as a monster.
Right.
But he seems to see something in Kaya, a potential for understanding.
Okay.
That felt like a pivotal moment in the story.
Yeah.
What do you think motivated his intervention?
Well, perhaps he recognized a genuine curiosity in Kaya, a desire to understand rather than just exploit.
Right.
Or maybe he foresaw the inevitable discovery by the surface world and saw an opportunity to forge a connection, however fragile, to protect his people. It's interesting, the contrast between his legendary fearsomeness and his more nuanced portrayal in his interactions with Kaya is quite compelling.
And as Kaya spends time in their city witnessing the magic firsthand, these ancient pacts with the corals, the songs that soothe sea creatures.
Wow.
It really challenges her scientific worldview, doesn't it?
It does. It presents a different way of interacting with the natural world.
Right.
One based on harmony and magical understanding rather than scientific analysis and categorization.
Then the arrival of that mining ship,
the
embodiment of potential exploitation that really throws the fragile peace into jeopardy.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about that moment?
Well, it's the external threat that forces a more immediate need for cooperation.
Right.
The mining ship, with its harpoons and drills, represents the very real danger that the surface world poses to this hidden kingdom in that moment of crisis.
Right.
Kaya's decision to step in to risk everything by returning to the surface shows a significant shift in her character. She's no longer just an observer.
Right.
What do you think drove her to that?
Well, I think witnessing the beauty and fragility of the underwater city and perhaps forming a connection with Rylan moved her beyond scientific curiosity and a sense of responsibility.
Right.
Her attempt to convince the captain, initially met with skepticism, highlights the difficulty of bridging these two very different worlds.
Yeah, for sure.
But then the footage of the city in Rylan, especially the power emanating from him, that's what makes the captain pause, isn't it?
That moment underscores the power of the unknown.
Right.
The primal impact of something that defies easy explanation.
Right.
Even grainy footage couldn't entirely diminish the sense of ancient power radiating from Ryland.
And then Ryland's own intervention,
Right.
that powerful warning, the protective barrier. It's a clear demonstration that they are not defenseless.
They can protect themselves.
Yeah, it's a truce born of necessity.
Right.
Perhaps even a little bit of fear on the surface world's part.
Yeah.
What do you think the long-term implications of such a beginning might be?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It feels like a very precarious situation.
Right.
The world knows about the Kingdom of the Depths now, not through careful scientific disclosure, but through a display of magical power.
Right.
Kaya finds herself in this incredibly difficult position trying to mediate between two worlds with potentially conflicting interests.
Right.
And Ryland's cautious hope at the end is interesting, acknowledging the surface world's greed, but still holding on to the possibility of coexistence.
Yeah.
It makes you think about whether true understanding can ever truly overcome those fundamental differences.
It does. It raises questions about the responsibility that comes with discovery and whether the loudest or most technologically advanced world is always the wisest when it comes to interacting with something new and potentially vulnerable.
So thinking about these incredible magical probes in Pirate Sorceresses of the Caribbean, Captain Calypso Fury and her Coven faced not only Admiral Drake, but also the alluring and potentially dangerous power of Isle of the Storms.
It leaves you considering, is true freedom about a physical place, or is it rooted in the strength of community and inner resolve? And what are the real costs when pursuing power and safety?
That's a big question.
Yeah, what do you think?
One, it makes you ponder the nature of those costs, doesn't it? Are the sacrifices they considered making on Isla worth the potential rewards?
Right.
It's a story that really delves into the complexities of seeking autonomy.
Totally.
Yeah.
Then in The Underwater Warlock,
okay,
Dr. Kaya Rivers' discovery forced a confrontation between two vastly different civilizations.
Yeah.
The uneasy alliance formed between the surface and the underwater kingdom, led by Kaya and Ryland, brings up fascinating questions about protection versus exploitation. Can genuine understanding bridge seemingly insurmountable divides?
It's a tough question.
This story certainly hints that the most dominant voice isn't always the most insightful.
And it also highlights the crucial role that individuals like Kaya can play as intermediaries, bridging seemingly unbridgeable gaps between different cultures or even species. It underscores the importance of empathy and a willingness to see the world from another's perspective.
These flash fiction stories, as you can see, offer such vivid glimpses into worlds brimming with magic and adventure, leaving so much to our imagination.
So true.
So what kind of magic do you imagine the Pirate Sorceresses might have wielded beyond what was explicitly mentioned?
Yeah. What else could they do?
And what other secrets might the underwater city hold?
Yeah, what's down there?
And what does the future hold for that fragile alliance between the surface and the deep?
What could happen?
These are all great questions. We encourage you to let your own curiosity be your guide and continue exploring the boundless possibilities within the wizarding world. Perhaps consider what other hidden corners of our world, magical or otherwise, might hold wonders and challenges we can't even imagine yet.
That's something to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
Join us next time for more captivating stories
on
the Mary Potter Podcast.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.